Hey, what's up guys, it's Bam from K284, and after some consideration and sizable peer pressure, this is for you, Selena and Puggy. I thought it'd be pretty interesting to start a story series of how our kingdom came to be as it is today. Every kingdom has its own unique story, and since I've been playing since day one, I'm more than qualified to tell you about mine. I'll be splitting my memories into 4 categories for the sake of length in each video for an ease of understanding. This particular video will be related to the kingdom's general development as a whole, and leave out individual alliances, wars, and mergers for the sake of time. This audio is already very long. The other 3 parts I plan to record will be told as my alliances history, my personal history, and other stories I can't categorize, as they are standalone subplots. With that briefing out the way, let's begin. The history of K284. And as always, a transcript of the recording will be left in the description down below. Chapter 1. Russian Red. In the beginning, the kingdom was populated with all sorts of different alliances and a great variety of players who believed they would one day grow strong enough to conquer the throne. Naturally, however, some alliances grew stronger than the others and began dominating their local territories. Smaller alliances would either merge with larger ones out of necessity or be wiped out. Either way, however, it happened that an alliance named ATM would emerge as the number 1 power rating on the leaderboards. It was allied with the alliance whose number 2 in the power rating, named Sin. The struggle for territory near the center, where all the higher level tiles that contain more resources were, forced Sin to move next to ATM and bring its sub-alliances with it. The 2 alliances built their territories next to each other for mutual safety. What ATM wasn't aware of, however, was the enemy who forced Sin to flee their original location. Soon would they discover, within the following days to come, a player named Russ on social Oleg. And on one particular night, Oleg came to raid the Sin Alliance in their new location, and he started burning some of the weaker Sin castles until he was scared away by the 2 alliances coming alive, starting multiple rallies on him at the same time, each time with him teleporting away before any of them hit. This pattern would repeat several times over the course of 2 weeks, and soon both leaders of the alliances got sick of the raids. It got so terrible that even some of the members of the Spanish-Portuguese-speaking alliance hero-defected to join Rus, because they wanted to share in the constant plundering. Sin R4 Malimchi discussed the ATM R5 Anubis forming a coalition of alliances to stop their common pest throughout the kingdom, Oleg. Oleg had a record history of attacking several other alliances throughout the kingdom, and he made many enemies. The first essence, the first young ideas of a union, was started in the form of a chat room named Tactical Strike. There, major alliance leaders gathered and plotted against Rus Alliance and its Russian allies, VIP, Rus, USR, and SPA. The alliances involved on the opposing side inside Tactical Strike chat room at the time were ATM, Sin, SJP, Core, BYA, SOF, DEN, War, DDI, Hero, JFK, and AHV. They all wanted a common time to launch a counterattack against Rus together, but due to different time zones it became extremely difficult. However, the alliances elected Sin Malimchi when he boldly volunteered to command the assault. While the decision on what time to counterattack was still being decided, Rus took advantage of the chaos in the newly founded union to attack and disrupt the alliances, attempting to weaken them all individually before they could unite on a common front. It escalated to a point where Rus made allies with the Chinese Alliance 1 and started a genocide of Sin and demolished their alliance fortresses. This pushed someone in Sin too far, however, and he vowed to stop them. Sin I Hurt You stepped to the challenge and started spending a copious amount of money, which was unheard of at the time since the kingdom was still so new, to improve his own statistics to fight Rus. Since he was stronger than the average player through spending, he performed a series of guerrilla tactics against Rus and its allies. He often went alone and attacked the Russians while they were sleeping, destroying Oleg's support, and zeroed several alliance members for a period of 2 to 3 weeks each day, unrelenting. He alone sported millions of kills of Russians alone and rose to the top of the kill leaderboards where he still stands today. Eventually, while this was going on, Malimchi issued a verdict on what time the Union would strike. While Rus was still in recovery of I Hurt You's repeated attacks, Malimchi led his forces to attack all Rus allies, VIP, Rus, USR, and SPA first, cutting off support to Rus when they would need it later. This great invasion of the Russian territory all happened in one night, over the course of a few hours. ATM struck VIP, Hero struck USR, every alliance in the Union was designated a target, and threw their forces against the enemy viciously. It was a virtual D-Day. Fierce fighting occurred in all corners of the kingdom as the Union rallied the Russians one by one, and the Russians were cut off guard. The Russian allies were soon depleted of troops, and Melimchi ordered a final invasion into the Russian territory's epicenter to demolish Rus' fortress. The most monumental battle of the kingdom was fought on this day. Rus called in support from their Chinese allies won, and the two alliances threw 4 full-size rallies against Melimchi's forces demolishing Rus' fortress. Both sides took extremely heavy casualties, and players from Melimchi's side had to switch in and out of the fortress because of their heavily depleted numbers after each enemy rally. Rus and One fought for their fortress until the very last troop, down to siege troops. They surrendered, and Rus' fortress fell, extinguishing Russian morale. After the fierce war, which took months to build up to, but only a few hours to fight, there was a strange silence. Until One's leader, Eric, spoke in Kingdom Chat. "Okay, you win. I lose. Good game." I was there as witness and spoke. "Why? Why did you fight for Rus' alliance? You've committed and lost everything, but had nothing to gain." And he replied, "I helped the Russians, because Sin, R5 leader Slushy, threatened me. I had no choice. He said I either join him or join Rus. I'm not one to be threatened. I only cared about the safety of my alliance, so I chose Rus to be my ally. I'm not someone's dog." At the moment we heard this, we were all shocked. A sense of guilt flooded our systems. This entire time, we thought ourselves to be the heroes, but in the end, we found that since R5 Slushy caused this war, he threatened the Chinese, he provoked the Russians. It was as the Russians say, bizdets. All crap. Slushy was immediately shunned, and he eventually stepped down from leadership and quit. And so ended the Russian scare. This concludes Chapter 1.